Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to MAS Tea Party. And we're so glad to have you join us today, especially for those that are present. And my name is Ian. I'm a year 2 student studying pure mathematics. So today with me is my friend. Her name is Dion, and she's doing business analytics. We are both from the SPMS Ambassadors program, and we are proud to be your MCs for today. So for about the next 2 hours or so, you'll be hearing from your future professors who are here with us, and what our Division of Mathematical Sciences have to offer. So for the guests that are here, and for those watching through YouTube Live, we welcome you to ask any of your questions on Slido at #NTUMaths. So before we begin, our NTU President, Subra Suresh, has put together a short video for us. So let's hear what he has to say.
I'm delighted to welcome you to NTU Singapore. Where you spend the next few years of your life is one of the major decisions facing you. So my one piece of heartfelt advice: choose the university that offers the best fit for you. Many universities may look similar, but here I would like to outline for you NTU's distinctive strengths and how they differ from the rest. You will be educated at a university that is recognized globally for its excellence in education and research. Recent rankings place NTU 13th among universities in the world, and for the 7th consecutive year, first among the world's young universities that are under 50 years of age. The COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the role of universities in providing critically needed and timely information, scientific know-how, and support to policymakers and governments. We aim to be a great global university founded on science and technology, nurturing leaders, and creating societal impact through interdisciplinary education and research that we offer. To accomplish this goal, we launched an important initiative, our 5-year strategic plan, NTU 2025, earlier this year in January. The NTU 2025 strategy, or simply NTU 2025, is the culmination of a year-long effort to shape the university's growth as well as its national and global impact. NTU 2025 will establish specific pathways and initiatives to strengthen NTU's 4 core pillars: education, research, innovation, and community. Educating and training the next generation of thinkers, innovators, leaders, and lifelong learners is central to our mission. We will intensify our focus on interdisciplinary approaches across both education and research, and expand holistic learning opportunities for students through new interdisciplinary programs, new learning spaces, and models that tap into advances in the science, art, and technology of learning, new industry-relevant modular continuing education course offerings, and synergistic integration of NTU's unique strengths with the unique capabilities of the National Institute of Education, or NIE, and the National Institute of Early Childhood Development. Through this effort, the university will provide greater breadth and depth of intellectual, social, and cultural nourishing that prepare NTU students for impactful service and global citizenship. Set to nurture leaders with character, competence, and cognitive agility, a carefully designed interdisciplinary core curriculum will be launched later this year to emphasize digital literacy, teamwork, communication skills, and experiential learning. We will equip NTU students with the skills and knowledge necessary to thrive in rapidly changing work and living environments, to be future-ready graduates. Looking beyond grades by offering a range of programs outside of the classroom, that provide experiential learning and unique learning opportunities to maximize learning outcomes for our students. Research and education activities will be integrated more closely, giving students increased opportunities to engage in research and creative work in their undergraduate journey. As a leading provider of continuing education, we will help students navigate through the dynamic changes in the workplace and develop a mindset that prepares.
Following that, we have our young and interesting Dr. Gary Greaves. He's going to tell us a topic on sharing. Following that, our young and uprising Professor Pei Xiaohui. He's going to tell us more about mathematics and computer science. In our list of professor talks, we also have Professor Thomas Perry, one of our top professors in coding and cryptography. He's going to tell us more about his topic. Joining us today, we also have two alumni, Ms. Igwini Witani and Mr. Linus Ong. They are recent graduates. They graduated last year, and they have no problems finding jobs during the pandemic year. After these talks, we have a 20-minute question and answer session. And at the end of that, for those of us that are here, we can continue with more sharing outside the question and answers outside this auditorium. We have, besides the speakers and the MCs, we also have a few other professors. So Professor Kia Han Mao and two more who are here, but they're not in this auditorium. And several student helpers who can answer your questions that you have at the end of later after the sessions. So I'm going to hand over the time back to Ian.
Thank you, Prof Chan. Your speech reminded me of the days where I was making my decision. I was once like all of you sitting here listening to the tea party. So, well, next our honor speaker for the day will be Associate Professor Ng Ming, and he was my professor in year 1, and he taught me about math proofs and logic. So he is the assistant chair and the deputy head of academic for MAS. Let's welcome Associate Professor Ng Ming.
Okay, thank you, Ian, for the very nice introduction. A very warm welcome to everyone who is able to come here in person. It's nice to be able to hold such an event after a long year where we've had to hold most of our events virtually. So yeah, welcome here, and also to the rest of you who are joining us online. So I'm Keng Ming. I'm in charge of academic affairs in mathematics in NTU. So if you have any questions, regarding the program or anything about academics, just feel free to ask me. Okay, so I've also give a talk at the NTU Open House. I'm not sure how many of you were there. I've touched briefly also on our programs, but that talk was a little bit more general. So what I thought I would do today is that I will instead try to give you a little bit more on the highlights of our program, and just to give you more information about how our program, what choosing a program can do for you. So just to start off, the reasons again to study mathematics is really varied. Maybe 10, 20 years ago, the world was quite a different place from what it is now. So at that time, studying mathematics as a major in university didn't really have, wasn't really that attractive as it is today. But over the past decade or so, with the development of these emerging fields of things like computing, computer science, data analytics, all this becomes more and more important. So mathematics also has become more and more recognized, especially amongst employers, as one of the key disciplines that they're actually looking out for. So part of the some of the main reasons why you may want to consider studying mathematics as a major. This includes also the double major programs. I understand that some of you here today are also offered the double major program. Okay, so obviously learning problem-solving skills. This is in mathematics, of course, we focus more on translating from a real-world problem and developing tools, mathematical tools, and as well as programming tools to help to solve these problems. So even though what you learn here, I think maybe our alumni later on will also touch on that, may not actually directly be related to to you in your career, because the career choices are really a lot very different. But one thing that will help always is your ability to take a problem and break it down and solve it. And this will of course be a very integral part of our training in mathematics and the double major programs. Also things like transferable skills, which is a little bit less tangible, but also equally important, things like soft skills and hard skills such as computing, data management, communications, decision making. All these things we also focus on in our curriculum. And of course, the most important reason is that virtually every career today in today's world requires mathematics, or at least the skills that mathematics brings with it as a key part in most of their roles. So sectors such as sciences, business, finance, and so on. Okay, I'll also touch on this a little bit later on. Okay, so if you are good in math, here are a list of some examples of some sectors that will be that will employ our graduates. I will, if I have time later on, I'll also touch a little bit more on this. I understand this is one of the most common questions and concerns that many people have who might want to know something. So sectors which hire our graduates include finance sectors, and finance sector is a very big sector, of course. That includes investment, banking, and any form of risk analyst. Also insurance, which is the related sector. Insurance companies, of course, helps hires quite, is one of our main employers. That includes actuary. We actually do have graduates working at actuary. Things like risk management, of course, they need people to crunch the numbers. Statistical analysts, this includes things like surveying with things like Black Box, for example, AC Nelson. These companies also doing survey. Of course, we do have training in this area. Biostatistics, of course, is very has always been requiring of jobs, and things like supply chain, logistics, for instance, due to the recent surge in online buying, things like Shopee, Lazada. Yeah, I mean they actually do hire our graduates. Grab food and things like this. They require. Of course, you don't work in the front line. You'll be working in the background, back end. Okay, if you prefer a more what do you call it, IT or computing based roles, we also do have sectors there that our graduates go to. Being you can either choose to be a hardcore programmer or maybe just a data scientist. Analyzing the numbers. Cybersecurity, for example, internet defense is of course a key emerging area right nowadays. I think later on one of our speakers will also touch on this. And also finally the education sector. This is no longer a stereotype. You do not, and you're not forced to be a teacher if you study mathematics. This is no longer the case, but of course a number of our graduates still go to this sector. Okay, so I hope you have an idea of how our graduates do. Okay, so some of the highlights of our program. I'll just touch on a few, and I'll elaborate on each of these points in the next part of my talk. So, how is our program different from, I don't know, other competing programs? First of all, it's flexible and customizable. So we have many double majors that you can choose from, and actually we also have, for our main program, there are different track specializations and many other electives. that you can choose from. We also have many opportunities for enrichment. I'll also touch on that in my talk. So it's basically, it's like very flexible, and you can customize it however way you want, how you want to plan your journey in the academic sense in NTU. You can almost surely find a match for it. Our program also is focused on being designed for students to be workforce ready. So we not only teach you the materials, we actually look ahead, think about what our graduates need, and design our curriculum accordingly. So as President Suresh has said in his welcome video, NTU actually is starting on a new 5-year program, and that includes redesigning, repackaging the curriculum. So under this new framework, we will have a lot of soft skills and breadth-wise requirements that you have to fulfill in your curriculum. So this will all go towards part of being workforce ready. And of course, NTU being a technological university, and long before even it was fashionable for students to do internship, we already have established long-standing connections with industrial partners. So we can also tap on that. We have a very good and strong career office that actually does that. Okay, we also have great opportunities for those who are seeking a challenge. If you want to go beyond the standard curriculum, academically wise, if you're looking for a challenge, we have some other opportunities for you. Because our courses in the university is all designed on the modular level, so it can sometimes be a little bit of hit and miss. Some lecturers maybe are better than others, but in SPMS, we are all dedicated, and we are all, very approachable. You can just see the few people sitting here today. We're all very nice, approachable, and more importantly, we're dedicated in our teaching, and we always try to constantly evolve our pedagogical methods, so you don't have to worry about, 20-year-old slides being used even today. Okay, and last one is maybe a little bit less relevant to you today, but if you're thinking of moving on to research, our faculty are all very strong and world-class in various research topics. And again, some of our speakers later on will also touch on some of these areas. Okay, so the first thing I want to highlight is to give you more in-depth of our program. I've mentioned that it's flexible and customizable. So what do we mean by that? So this is an overview of all the programs that our division or department, mathematics department, is involved in. We have 3 double majors. You can do a double major in math and econs, or with computer science, or with physics. I think most of you here already have an offer, so maybe this is less relevant. But this is just basically an overview of the programs that we are involved in. In our main program, again, we have this this choice of 4 specialization track. You can choose from 1 out of 4. And we also are involved in partnership programs with other schools, the data science and AI, with the School of Computer Science and Engineering, and the Econs and Data Science program, also with Computer Engineering, and with the School of Social Sciences. Okay, first I'm going to touch on our main program, the single major BSc Honours. So the program total is, the requirement under the new framework is 129 AUs. All our courses are rated with an academic unit. So most courses are either 3 or 4 AUs. And that works out to be roughly 36 modules in total over the whole time that you are here. Of course, plus minus, because each module is different number of AUs, and it depends on how you plan your program. But that's roughly approximately 36 modules altogether. And the main highlight of this program is the flexibility and customization that you can put in. So after your 3rd semester, you can choose from one of the 4 tracks of specialization. So you can choose either the applied math, stats, business analytics, or pure math. I think maybe a lot of you already know of this. For the applied math track, it's basically it's especially designed for students who might want to learn more about how you can use mathematical tools and models to solve real-world problems. So you have some programming components, but your courses will be more or less dedicated towards this particular direction. In the stats track, if you choose the stats track, if you think that specializing in the analysis, interpretation of numbers and data is for you, then you may want to consider doing the stats track. It's also a very popular track. It's in fact our most popular track, the stats track. But of course, it's not as simple as just taking numbers and then just putting bar charts, right? Statistics is far more than that. So you will learn different kinds of statistical analysis you can perform depending on different kind of situations or the reporting that you may want to do. The business analytics track is a partnership with the Nanyang Business School. So here we want to, is for students who are kind of interested in running data analytics software tools and try to help the businesses to give insights to businesses and try to chart their directions. So it's basically data analytics to help businesses to grow. And lastly, pure mathematics track. If you are really hardcore and you are interested in learning more about the theory behind the all the other stuff, then of course the pure math track may be for you. And there we focus more on abstract structures and objects. Okay, so this is a brief overview of our 4 tracks. Now for our double major programs, I think again our speakers later on will touch on them or briefly also. So I'll just also talk about them briefly, since I think some of you here are maybe interested, maybe offer one of these double major programs. So the first double major is that with computer science. This is joined, of course, with the School of Computer Science and Engineering. And the total number of AUs here is 143. So you can see it's not actually double. Double major doesn't literally mean you do like two degrees. That roughly works out to about 42. So your workload will actually, of course, be a little bit higher. And you may need to overload in some semesters. But this is quite common. And of course, this is for students who want to be trained in jobs that require, sits at the interface between mathematics and computer science. So for example, jobs from theoretical computer science, cybersecurity, financial modeling, and data science are examples of such jobs which require a strong combination of skills, mathematical and analytical skills, as well as computational skills. These are examples of 4 specializations you can choose should you enroll in this program. Okay, so it's a little bit different from tracks. Tracks are native to mathematics, but this is more of a math and comp science. Okay, for the double major with econs, this is of course run jointly with the Division of Economics in the School of Social Sciences. So you have, again, you have an equal number of math and econs courses. That roughly is about 44 modules in total. And of course, in this program, it's going to be for students who want to use mathematical tools and modeling tools to help to study the economy, both macro and micro, and to do financial market analysis. Also, it's one of the parts of the program. Yeah, so it's if you're interested in understanding marketing behavior, but more in the analytical approach. So this will be a program that will be for you. Okay, mathematics and econs, basically just think of how they can be paired together. Okay, the highlight of this program is that unlike the other 2 double majors, for this double major you can actually select a math track, just like a student in the normal program. So you can choose between one of the 4 applied math, stats, business, BA, or pure math track. Okay, this is one of the highlights of this program. Okay, our last double major is that with physics. In this is of course run with Division of Physics next door. I don't know if you can sneak out and just go to the talk also if you can be in time. Here is a total, again, roughly 44 AUs. Modules is also comparable to the other 2 double majors. And this program tries to focus on preparing for rigorous foundation in theoretical physics, but of course, keeping an eye on the computational and analytical skills also. So it's kind of both theoretical and computational as well. It's equal parts. Okay, so if you're really interested in physics and wanting to solve problems in the natural and physical world, then this is actually the program for you. Okay, so I hope I've given you a nice idea of the things that, overview of the different programs. Okay, so I've also mentioned that our program, NTU as a whole, as well as in mathematics, has a special focus in training you to be workforce ready. So what are some of the things that fall under this approach? We have in our courses, in our curriculum, both the double and single major, we have a strong focus on teaching computing and computing skills, and that not only includes programming, but also the applications of programming in certain domain-specific applications. So in the compulsory courses, there are 4 compulsory courses whereby you have to do some sort of programming. The first is a university core everybody in NTU will take, Navigating the Digital World. And the remaining 3 are courses specific to SPMS. So there are 2 of them deals with Python and 1 of them deals with R programming, which is a commonly used statistical software. We also have some elective courses also whereby we will move on to more advanced aspects of these computational skills. And especially, so we have things like data analysis, algo for the real world. And in the last point, you see this is a basket of stats courses whereby you also will practice using software for very specific targeted statistical applications. So yeah, so we have a special focus on that. Also, trying to get in the direction of trying to get our graduates ready for the workforce. NTU, under this new curriculum framework, starting from this intake on, all NTU students, I think except for the medical school and 1 or 2 special exceptions, but all other NTU students will have to undergo a compulsory internship attachment. Now, how this is implemented may be slightly different in different schools, but in math, this will be implemented in the following way. The single major, if you are with our regular program, you have a choice of either the 10-week internship, the shorter internship, the 10-week internship program, and this will be conducted during the summer break, the 3-month summer break in between your semesters. And this will be available at the end of year 2 onwards. Okay? Or you can opt to do the long internship if you prefer a longer experience with the company. The 20-week internship, but this will be conducted during a semester. So it's 20-week long, and this is available from the 3rd year onwards. For the double major students, due to the program requirements, you don't have a choice. For the computer science, math and computer science, you have to do the 20-week internship, whereas the other 2 double major, you will do the 10-week internship in the holidays. Okay, so this is also one of our attempts to get you ready. Okay, this is some of a list of some companies. You can just have a quick look at the list. I got this data from the Career Office of companies that our math students have gone to recently for their internship, either short or long. So of course, you can see the companies that hire our interns, range all over, across all sectors. There are government-linked ones. Things like research labs also from A-Star, Genome Institute, and so on. Also the finance and banking sectors, insurance companies, and banks. Lion Global Investors is an investment firm, part of OCBC, and other ones. Also private sectors such as Shopee. Okay, I don't know, like things like Cold Storage, Ernst & Young, a variety of companies. Okay, so I think it's a good spread. There's something for everybody, whichever sector that you are actually interested in. Okay, now if you're not satisfied with the internship program, there is something called the Cooperative Education Program in SPMS also, whereby you are, instead of doing the usual 10 or 20-week internship, you can actually go up to 50 weeks. This is kind of like a work and study at the same time scheme. So you will spend, under this program, if you want to go on this program, you will spend around 50 weeks at the company, spread over 3 work terms. But because you're also taking courses in NTU, you will have to be structured. You have to spend certain time in the semester, some with the company. Of course, I can talk to you about the details if you like, but there is this option. Unfortunately, it's not open to double major programs and other programs such as the CN Young Scholars Program because of the requirements of those programs. So it's only open to single people, students enrolled in the major in the single major. Okay. So for the last part, I want to just quickly touch on this enrichment opportunities. So as part of our program, I understand that many of you are very good students, and perhaps you are not satisfied with just going through the usual curriculum. So there's something for everybody. If you're interested in seeking a challenge academically, right? Not like ECA, CCA or anything, but academically, if you're interested in seeking a challenge beyond the standard curriculum, or if you want to look out for any enrichment opportunities, here are some of the programs that we offer and which you may want to consider. So one of them is the exchange program. This is something that's very popular. Under this program, you will spend either the short-term exchange program is a couple of weeks at a foreign university, or you will spend one full semester, either the short or long-term exchange at the overseas partner university. And when you are taking courses over there, you can map the courses that you take over there back to a course code in NTU, so you can be getting credit towards your graduation. So the courses you take there will not be wasted, in other words. But of course, you have to be careful, check out which courses you can get credit for. Of course, currently, overseas exchange is currently suspended, unfortunately, for the past 3 semesters. But because this exchange program is usually done when you're in the 3rd year onwards, so in 2 years' time, if the situation is better, this will resume as soon as it is safe to do so. There's also the option to do a local exchange, and you can do it with either NUS or SMU if you want to do an exchange but not overseas. Okay, so some of the universities that our students have actually gone to, here are a list of some of them. So our partner university comes from all over the world. So we have not only in Asia, we have some top universities in Asia, also in the US, in Europe also. But over the past few years, it's been more popular for students to go to Korea for exchange. I don't know why, but anyway, the top row are the top universities in Korea, but there's many other Korean universities also that also are our partners. So yeah. Additionally, if you are looking for a challenge academically, there are other research opportunities. Maybe it's a little bit too early for you to consider it now, but these are programs that are available to you, in fact, as early as starting from 2nd year onwards, whereby you may want to do a research project with a faculty or professor of your choice. And we have such opportunities run at different levels. So we have the supervised independent study, where you find a supervisor and you will read about independently about a subject that is not offered normally in a coursework. So it's kind of like an independent study module. Also, there's the undergraduate research experience, which is conducted in the special semesters in the holidays. Also at the division level. The Eureka is also a very similar program, but it's run at the university level. And of course, the division runs the final year project, which takes 1 year. And there's the Odyssey program, which is run at the school. So just to give you a sample of the Odyssey research program, it is actually run during the special terms. In other words, the holidays. And this program actually brings together like-minded, because it's run by the school, so there will be participants from physics and chemistry, and they will group together just students who are interested in scientific research for various discussions. So even though the main bulk of the program takes place during the semester break, but the program actually runs for the full year. You will participate in things like academic competitions, and up there is a research the poster presentation for the program, and there are talks conducted throughout the year. Okay, so this is one example of a research that you can try to get yourself into. Okay, finally, if you still want to challenge yourself, there are these other versions of the coursework where you can consider. There's a supervised independent study, like I've mentioned. There's also special topics modules where you can where you can try to learn about an advanced mathematics topic that you're interested in, but which is not offered normally. There are advanced versions of some basic courses, so you can go beyond the materials that's being taught in the first year. So it's like kind of like an attachment to these standard courses. You can also kind of do self-paced, which is like an accelerated version. You can there are certain selected core courses especially in the first and second year, whereby you can do it in half the time, and you take your final exam in the mid-semester break. So you can kind of do twice the speed for the very good students. And we also hold international mathematics competitions. There's in fact one course that we run that is specifically on mathematical problem solving, which is for training students to take part in these math competitions. So that's it for my talk. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll take them. Prof Chan and I will take them at the end of the session.
Thank you, Prof Ng, for the insightful sharing. A reason why I love SPMS so much is because we are very blessed with dedicated prof. If you have any questions, do upload them on Slido, #NTUMath with the S at the back, and we'll answer any of your questions during Q&A session later. Next, we have Professor Nicholas Prevalt. Professor Nicholas published 2 books in 2013, one on stochastic finance and the other on Markov chains. His research interest is in finance, insurance, and many others. So let us put our hands together to welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Nicholas, and I'm also in charge of coordinating the finance-related programs between our school and the Nanyang Business School. So talking about finance and mathematics, the equation is simple. Finance is mostly about prices. But what are prices? For us, prices are numbers. So finance is about mathematics. And in fact, if you start as a mathematics student, if you are born inside the world of mathematics, it's quite easy for you to learn business. It's like going downstream. Doing the opposite, if you start from the business side and you want to learn the necessary mathematics content, that's something which is much more complicated. So that's why what we recommend, what I personally recommend, is actually to start from mathematics, even if you want to think of a career in business. And it's hard to think of a mathematics topic which does not have applications in the real world, and also which does not have applications within finance and economics. And for this, I have listed just a few of them, from statistics to computing, optimization, differential equations, but the list is certainly not exhaustive. And of course, in the recent years, we have seen the emergence of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on for financial technology, robo-advisors, and algorithmic trading, and so on. So, oops, yes. So what do we? It seems the slides have been moving a bit fast. Yes, so I should be here. Yes. So this is confirmed here. The hardcore mathematical topics are really of use to you as prospective students, and they can give you an edge. The point is that they can give an edge to the math student over the business student. Sorry, I keep moving in the wrong direction. I see now, I got it. Yes. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to run a live experiment just to demonstrate the application of three simple topics, which will be regression, linear regression, from this course on regression analysis, time series, from that course MH4500, and assets and portfolios. So I'm just taking a very small sample of 3 courses in our course offering, and within the syllabus, I'm only going to pick 3 very specialized topics: linear regression, time series, and portfolios. And I will try to demonstrate the use and application of those concepts a bit later. But before that, let me complete the information with something about the minor in finance. So if you are interested in economics, finance, and business, then you may be offered the minor in finance, which allows you to secure a seat in courses in the business school. So you will have the opportunity to take 2 core courses, business finance and investments, and you can complete this by 2 electives. On top of that, if you want to continue your studies further, if you are thinking of getting a master's degree, then we do have a program that gives you a direct admission into the Master in Financial Engineering at the Nanyang Business School. And that's a way to join the master in using this more direct track. That means you are selected as our students because we know us personally, instead of having to join the crowd of applicants who regularly apply every year from the business school. Okay, so if you are in math, if you are also in the minor in finance, MAC, sorry for the small typo here, this C should become an O, just close the C, it becomes an O, it's M-A-E-O. Okay, now I will move in front of the laptop and I will start my live experiment. My advice is never do this, never try it, because if you try any live experiment, it's usually going to fail. So as I said, I want to demonstrate the use and application of 3 very special tools: linear regression, time series, and portfolios. So I have this code here. I have to input a stock ticker. As you can see, the default choice here is Google. I'm going to make another choice, KO. KO stands for Coca-Cola, as you may know. And I'm going to enter another one, PEP. PEP, as you can guess, stands for Pepsi. So we have 2 brands of soft drinks. And what we see on the right is the stock price over the past 12 months of Coca-Cola. So it shows you may, of course, profit from investing into Coca-Cola. That's one thing. Second thing, that graph here is from Pepsi. Well, it also goes up and down, but mostly up. What I'm going to do now, I plot all of them on the same figure. So left, right, and then what we can see is that on the rightmost figure, I'm trying to plot both of them on the same graph, and you can see the problem. They are not in the same price range. So how can we compare them in any meaningful way? We are going to do topic number 1, linear regression. Linear regression is precisely the way to rescale them automatically on the same graph. Originally, they are not within the same price range. They do not share the same slope, but I'm able to rescale them on the same graph. And the idea here is trying to make actually more profit by taking advantage of the ups and downs. So I'm going to build a portfolio based on Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And the idea is that when Coke is a bit higher, I'm going to sell Coke. And when Pepsi is a bit lower, I'm going to purchase Pepsi. And I'm going to flip the strategy time after time and try to beat the market in some way. So let us try this. To make things easier to visualize, I'm going to look at the difference between the 2 rescaled prices. Positive difference means we are on one side, buy one, sell the other. Negative difference means we are on the other side. And that will give me the opportunity to look at the second topic of application, which is an application of time series. So now this is a time series. We only have to focus on the positives and the negatives. And this time series is very nice. it has the stationarity property. So we can actually automate everything and do a test, a statistical test of stationarity, which will tell us that this time series is a good one in the sense that it goes up and down in the way that we need to perform our trading. And that will be the trading strategy, built on thresholds, which will tell us when to switch the portfolio from buy to sell, from sell to buy, etc. And now we will reach the final conclusion. Press enter, and that's what we get. So on the left, we have the two graphs, the two stock prices plotted on the same graph. In the middle, you have your strategy based on the difference, based on the spread, with the signals, buy and sell signal. And finally, I'm not sure if it is very visible, but on the right, you have the black graph, which is the benchmark, 50% Coca-Cola, 50% Pepsi. It gives you this profit on the right here, black graph, which is a nice profit, 10 to 15%. If you use the strategy that I have just described, then you get the yellow graph, which is jumping until 130%. So there's a way, actually, through a clever strategy based on linear regression and time series to beat the market. That's the point I wanted to make. And I thank you for your attention. I will be there after the talks if you have more questions.
Wow, thank you, Professor Nicholas. Wasn't that interesting? And how we just learned year 3, year 4 topics within 10 minutes. Next up, our speaker today is Dr. Greaves. He was my professor during multivariate calculus in the COVID semester. And even though the lessons were online, he made them really interesting for me, and it was really one of my most favorite modules. I'm excited as to what kind of brilliant topic he has in store for us. Let us welcome Dr. Greaves.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, Ian. I want to talk to you about a gem of mathematics. More specifically, I want to talk to you about a result from discrete mathematics that is so nice and so useful, it made its way into New York Times. And it's also been exhibited in various YouTube videos. So if you look at your favorite math YouTube channel, you might see this also explained there. So the motivation from the New York Times article was to solve the problem of how can you live with your friends in harmony. And that's about how can you choose which room to stay in and decide what proportion of rent you should pay in a way that everyone's going to be happy. So for example, when I lived in the UK with my friends, we all just paid the same amount of rent, but one of my friends had an ensuite bathroom and no one else did. So it seems a bit unfair, and I wish I knew about this method back then. So in the New York Times article, it says to divide the rent, start with a triangle, so somewhere triangles are coming in. And this is not just about dividing rent. You can also use this to divide other things, like, for example, cake. Okay, so we want to share things, and so it says here, start with a triangle. So here's a triangle, but we're not just going to take any triangle. We want to take something called Sperner's triangle, which is a triangle with different colors at each of the vertices. And what do we do with that triangle? Well, we take any triangulation. So here I just take a nice triangulation of this triangle, and then I color each vertex, each point of the triangulation along the sides in the following way. So I make sure on the left side, I'm only using colors red or blue. So we color those in. And then for the other two sides, I do a similar thing. So for the right side, I'm just going to use red and yellow. So I fill those in. And the bottom is just blue and yellow. It doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you use those two colors on each of the sides. And now we have a Sperner triangle. These are the conditions Sperner wants for his triangles. And now we're going to finish off coloring it in, but we can color the remaining points however we like. So we can do whatever we want. So here's one way of doing that. And if we do this, then we're going to find there's going to be a triangle in there with all of its points, 3 different colors. So we call it a tricolor triangle. And if we look in here, so for example, this triangle has red, red, yellow, but this one has red, yellow, blue. So we get all the colors, and so we get this tricolor triangle. And I want to now convince you that no matter how we do this, so I reset, and then I just take another coloring, and then again you can look and you'll see that again we get these tricolor triangles showing up. And in fact, no matter how you do this, you're always going to get a tricolor triangle. And so I want to show you an argument for showing why this is true. So the statement here is that Sperner's triangle always has a tricolor triangle. And so here's a neat proof for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of our triangle as a house. So our big triangle is our house, and then all these triangles inside are the rooms of the house. And when we see a line with 2 different colors at the end, we'll call that a door. So this is our door, and then we highlight all the doors in the house, and we get this thing. We get these doors here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start on the outside of our house. So I start off over here, and there's a bunch of doors on the outside of our house. And then we're going to walk through every door once, precisely once. So we can do that. So I start off over here, I go through this door, then I continue. And here I don't have any choice, I have to go out again. So now I'm outside the house, and then I can get back in over here. And I keep following this pattern, and then eventually I get stuck. So when I get into this room, you see that there's nowhere for us to go. And this, in fact, is a triangle that has 3 different color vertices, which is what we're looking for. And so this will always lead us, we're always going to end up getting stuck in such a triangle. So this is the triangle we're looking for, tricolor triangle. So why does this happen? Well, first of all, the first thing to realize is we have an odd number of doors here. So this means that if we start on the outside and we go in and out, every time I go in and come out again, I've used an even number of outside doors. So if there's an odd number of doors, then once I finish using those doors, I must end up on the inside of the house. So why is there an odd number of doors on the outside? Well, here's a quick way that I'll briefly try to convince you. So you can just start off with this kind of line at the bottom with just blue and red on it. And we can get the line at the top by adding points. So here I start with 1 door, and then I add a point somewhere, and I still just have 1 door. So this adds 0 doors to the total, and then I add another point. This now just puts 1 door in the middle, so I add 0 doors again. I put another point, add 0 doors, and if I add another point in this way, it adds 2 doors. And the point is, no matter what happens, every time I add a point, it's going to add either 0 doors or 2 doors. So if I start off with an odd number of doors, I'm always going to end up with an odd number of doors. So that's one thing we need. The other thing we need is the different type of triangles we have. So no matter what our triangles are, it's either going to have 0 doors, so what, for example, like these 2 triangles at the top, or 1 door, which is the tricolor triangle, which is what we're after, or it's going to have 2 doors. So there's an example at the bottom with triangles with 2 doors, and there's no way you can have 3 doors. So you can think about this yourself, why you can't have 3 doors. And so because this is the case, if we have a triangle with 2 doors, when we go in, then there's just one way to go out. We continue moving through the house, and we end up leaving. And so the only possible triangle we're going to get stuck in is a triangle with 1 door, which is the tricolor triangle. So that's why we always have a tricolor triangle in a Sperner triangle. And so just to repeat the argument again, here's a triangle with some doors. We start off on the outside and we wander around as much as we can, just going through doors precisely once, and then we end up in a tricolor triangle. So this is a nice pure mathematic result, but how can we use this to divide things fairly? So this is a pure math result, and as mentioned in Nicola's talk, it's very often any result in mathematics has some use in real life. So we're going to try to apply this to dividing rent. So here we have 3 friends that want to rent a house together, and they want to decide how much rent they should pay and which room they want. And so we call them A, B, and C, or Ashwin, Brett, and Chad, as used in the New York Times article. And then we start off with this triangle. So here we have a triangle, and what we've done is we've labeled it with A, B, and C, so that every triangle in the triangulation has A, B, and C as a vertex. So I have, if you just look at any triangle, so here's a triangle, I have A here, B here, C here. So each letter is on a vertex of each triangle. Okay, now we're going to go around in this triangle and ask the corresponding person a question. So I'll start off with this vertex here. So I'm looking at B, which means Brett, and I ask that person to decide which room they want based on a rent distribution indicated by the distance from the different sides. So here we have this vertex B. It's this distance from the yellow side, this distance from the blue side, and it's 0 distance from the red side. So that means they're going to pay, the person in the red room would pay 0% of the rent, the person in the blue room would pay 80% of the rent, and the person in the yellow room would pay 20% of the rent. So we asked Brett, which room do you want? And so it's kind of obvious he's going to choose the red room because he doesn't have to pay any rent. So we assume that this is always going to happen. So here we ask Chad, which room do you want? Well, the red room's free, so they're going to choose red, and so on. So A, we ask Ashwin, where do you want to stay? It's free in the red room, so okay, we'll choose the red room. And so we continue around the outside, and you can see we assume they're going to choose the free room. And now we look at the inside points, and we do the same exercise. So now we look at this point here, and this means we ask Ashwin, which room do you want to stay in? And we have this distance from yellow side, this distance from red side, this distance from blue side, which corresponds to this proportion here. So 20% of the rent if in the red room, 60% of the 60% of the rent from the blue room, and 20% of the rent in the yellow room. And so here, it's kind of fair enough. It's not really obvious which one Ashwin will choose. Maybe it depends on which room has an ensuite or the best view or a balcony or some nice property. So in this example, Ashwin, say, chooses the red room, and then we go over to this vertex here and we ask Chad which room do they want based on this rent distribution. And let's say Chad chooses the blue room, and now we've found our tricolor triangle. So this means that for this rent distribution, Ashwin wants the red room. For this price distribution, Brett wants the yellow room, and this price distribution, Chad wants this room. And so we can kind of average what their rent is. So we choose a point in the middle of the triangle, and that will give us a rent distribution and a room distribution where everyone should be happy. But you see, we had to slightly modify what their rent percentage was. And so if that doesn't satisfy, then you can simply triangulate this smaller triangle and then continue the process until it becomes negligible what the change is. Okay, so that's a mathematical gem I wanted to talk to you about. Thanks for your attention, and that's all from me.
Thank you, Prof. Gary, for the insightful sharing. I've learned so much from this short power-packed sharing. Before we continue, everyone, let's raise our right hand and stretch. And we raise our left hand and we stretch. Okay, great. Now that we are all a little more awake, let's welcome the next professor, Professor Bei Xiaohui, to share with us more about computer science.
Thank you very much. So thank you for the introduction. We just had a great presentation by Dr. Griff about run sharing. But today my talk is going to be less technical, so I will discuss the relation of mathematics and computer science. So first we ask ourselves, so everyone knows what math is, but what is computer science? For the past few decades, computer science has really been everywhere in our daily lives. So computer science is about the study of computers and also computational systems. So it mostly involves designing software and software systems. It helps to design new softwares to solve computing problems and also to develop different ways to use technology. So there are many different sub-areas in computer science. So we have a system, we have network, which is also the study of the internet. We have artificial intelligence, graphics, theory, and many other areas. So first, among these areas, I want to pick one particular sub-area to give you a taste of what computer scientists can do. So the area that I'm going to pick is artificial intelligence. So this may not be a surprise for you if you have been following the news. So in the past few years, there has really been this so-called AI boom that happened everywhere in the world. We have advanced computer programs, AI, artificial intelligence, that can really shape our lives. So first, we know that right now, computer programs are really good at playing games. So for the left example, we have the game of Go, which have very simple rules, but are considered as one of the most complicated games in the world. And in 2016, actually, there is this computer program called AlphaGo, developed by Google DeepMind company, who beats the 19 times world champion Lee Sedol in the very famous Go match. So not only the game of Go, computer programs also learns to play other type of games, like in the video games, this is called the game of StarCraft, and also in the poker. In all of these games, right now, computer programs are able to beat the top level professionals very handily. So these are about games, but besides games, computer programs, AI, are also good at, have also shaped our daily lives. For example, AI is now a critical technology used to realize these self-driving cars. So in the very near future, we're going to have fully automated cars without drivers that can take us from places to places. AI can also help us with healthcare. The applications involve diagnosis or treatment recommendations. And finally, in recent years, there has been AI has transformed and greatly advanced the technology, the area of natural programming, natural language processing. So that means using computers, now computers are able to help us to understand, to comprehend, and to translate human natural languages. This is another very interesting example. This is another application developed by Google. So right now, if you just input a sentence, say, I want pictures, okay, of an armchair in the shape of an avocado, what the computer will do, what the algorithm will do, is that they will actually translate this sentence and then generate these fake artificial pictures for you. So these are not real pictures. These are artificial pictures generated by this software, and it looks exactly, these are armchairs in the shape of an avocado. Okay? So these are all just the tip of an iceberg of what computer science can do. I hope that from these examples, I can convince you that computer science really is everywhere in our daily lives. So as a result, on the job market, there are just more and more in recent years, many and more jobs, computer science related jobs, and there has been a huge demand on talents, on graduates with a strong math and computer science backgrounds. And not only that, we want to say that these are always also some of the best jobs possible. So here I have this one job-rated report that lists you some of the top low stress but high paying jobs. So among these, you can already see that the top one is mathematician. Okay, this is already very good news for us. But what is more interesting is that the website also lists some of the top 10 particular low stress and high paying jobs. And among these top 10, we have 2 jobs that are directly related to computer science. So we have software developer that is basically to develop softwares. We also have data scientists, okay, that is to analyze, to identify the patterns in large data sets. Okay, so these are all very nice jobs. These payments, these are in US dollars, so these are really also high-paying jobs. So these are some of the possible graduate prospects. More particular for us Singaporeans, if we want to stay in Singapore, there are also many, many career choices for us. First, if you have a computer science background, you can work in some of the best international and local IT companies. We have many examples. So we have some of the famous international IT companies, Facebook, Google, Amazon, they all have branches in Singapore. We have some great Chinese companies, Tencent, ByteDance, and we also have some of the best local Singapore IT companies, Shopee and others. Okay, so these are all natural choices for students with a computer science background. And besides these IT companies, we also have other sectors like governments, telecom companies, healthcare, financial services, insurance, and entrepreneurship. In all of these sectors, they would want, okay, there are many jobs that prefer the students with a computer science background. So we have all of these job career opportunities. So these are all these possible choices that you can choose from. And finally, let's go back to our program. So luckily at SPMS, we do offer many, many computer science related courses, modules, like Prof just previously mentioned. We offer different levels, different variety of courses that are related to computer science, from the basic fundamentals to the state-of-the-art research progress. Okay, so those are about computer science. But finally, I also want to talk about math in computer science. So if you think computer science is really such a good major, then why don't you just choose a computer science major? So the reason is that math is actually super important. It's actually a crucial component in computer science. So basically, we know computer science has its own languages, okay, the computing language, which are actually very abstract. So they're going to use symbols, they're going to use punctuations, they're going to use single words to model, to represent commands, process, or simple logics, okay? So for someone who doesn't have lots of experience in this area, this could be very challenging. But luckily, computing languages, okay, are actually very similar to the abstract languages that students learn in math classes. So learning math enables us to formulate, to read, to comprehend, and to formulate ourselves, and to communicate in these abstract languages. So these are also really the good thing about having a math background. And what's more important is that these actually programming languages like Python, like R, these are actually only tools. So what's more important are actually the thoughts, the soul behind these programs, which we call algorithms. Okay, so you want to understand, you want to really know why this program works. What do you need to do that? You need math. Okay, so needless to say that computer science, okay, requires a strong, fair amount of mathematical knowledge, and being, in particular, being successful as a computer scientist requires you to think mathematically. So finally, coming back to our program, so at SPMS, not only do we offer a lot of different computer science related courses, we also have this newly introduced Math and CS double major program. So this is a program run jointly by our school and the School of Computer Science and Engineering. Prof Ng have already talked about this course, this double major, so I will not talk about this in details, but this gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you a strong mathematical foundation and also the state-of-the-art computer science technology. So finally, I want to end my presentation with this slide. So basically, if you are interested in computer science, you want to find a job, there are actually many possibilities. So one, it is not that difficult to find a CS-related jobs to learn some basics of program. Then you can probably find a mediocre job. You can find a 9-to-5 job with some mediocre pay, okay? Or another choice is that you really want to make some impact. You want to go to the best company with the best working environment. You want to make some changes. You want to develop areas, apps, softwares that are used by millions of people, okay? So what differentiates between these two kinds of jobs is exactly math. So if you want to really study, want to be good at computer science, I think math is the way to go. So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Testing. Thank you, Prof. B, for the insightful sharing. Now that we know how math is used in computer science, up next, we have Associate Professor Thomas Perrin, who is one of NTU's top professors in cryptography. He has represented NTU in various coding competitions, one of which is the Caesar competition, where his model, the Deoxys 2, emerged as the winner. Let's welcome him to share more about this hot topic.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for the nice introduction. So my name is Thomas, and I'm specialized in cryptography. And I would like to talk a bit about two things, coding and cryptography today. And I can assure you that those two topics is topics of math, which is really applied. And I'm sure that you have used coding and cryptography dozens of times this morning already, maybe without even realizing it. So just to give you some quick timeline, we can say that roughly 80 years ago, coding theory and modern cryptography started. There was a very important person for that, which is Claude Shannon. Maybe you all heard about Turing, but actually Shannon was also one person very important because he introduced what is called the information theory, which is really the foundation of coding theory and modern cryptography. So actually, I think coding, why I'm talking today about coding and crypto is because we have at NTU in general, and especially in SPMS, we have a very, very strong research team in those two areas. So these are the professors that work in coding and crypto in a math division. Actually, even the provost, Prof Chan, comes from the crypto and coding background. So just a quick explanation of what is coding theory and cryptography. Maybe you don't know already what it is. So coding theory is the idea is that you want to build, it's the branch of mathematics where you want to build some kind of encoding of the information so that if you transmit, while you transmit the information, there might be some errors. You still want to be able to detect that there were some errors or maybe even correct it. That would be even better. So let's say that you're communicating with a satellite, for example. Of course, there's going to be a lot of perturbation, and all the data that you're transmitting will not be perfect. There's going to be missing data. There's going to be data with errors. Some values will be flipped, for example. So what you're going to do about it, you want to be able to detect it, want to be able to correct it, and for that, you can create some special mathematical structure to do the encoding so that you can do this. So coding theory is the study of the various different structure that you can create. There are many of them. It depends on the type of errors you might have, depends on the type of applications, etc. And so there's a lot of application. Basically, anytime you're going to transmit information, so basically all the telecommunication, but it's not only the information you're transmitting, it's also the information you're storing. If you think of, for example, when you insert a DVD in your DVD reader, you might have some scratches right on your DVD. And this means that some of the information that is written on the DVD is basically completely erased, and normally you should not be able to read this anymore. But because there is a special type of encoding, then you're still able to read the information, and your movie displays without any issue. Okay. So there's a lot of jobs you can get when you're studying coding theory. Basically, engineering or researchers in any big telecommunication company, but also in electrical engineering. Aerospace, if you think of, again, communication with satellites, etc. There's really a lot of job prospects. And a very related topic to coding theory is cryptography. Why it's related? It's because in coding theory, you're trying to resist some random errors that might happen in your information, right? The information you're transmitting or you're storing. There might be some random errors, and you want to protect against that. Cryptography is then trying to protect against an active person that is badly intentioned and is trying to modify your information or maybe read your information. Okay, so cryptography is the science of secrecy, basically. So you want to protect your data that you're transmitting, let's say emails, or if you're making phone calls, you want to forbid someone else that is not part of the conversation to be able to read these messages. You want also to provide authentication, for example, so you don't want anyone to be able to modify your email or your conversation without being allowed to do so. So this goes into the more general framework of cybersecurity, which I think, from my perspective, is right now one of the the biggest hiring domain in science right now. So cybersecurity is really booming. It's honestly not stopping. It's not going to go away, unfortunately. We still have a lot of issues. It's a very complex problem in general, so you're still going to have a lot of jobs for the coming decades. This is something I really believe. So many applications. Basically, you can work in very different companies. For example, you can, of course, you're going to have some cryptography in your computers. So as soon as you touch your phone, the phone is going to try to connect to the network. You have cryptography. As soon as you're going to do banking, you have cryptography. If you use your credit card, you have cryptography. If you use your car, there's a lot of electronics in your car, and you're going to have cryptography to secure all the communications inside. So medical devices. Also, you have now all this fintech technology that's also going to be using a lot of cryptography. So it's really a large domain that is growing ever. So the type of jobs you can get, again, is basically engineer or researcher in those companies, maybe big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, etc. It can be also smaller companies, maybe security companies. Of course, banking is also a domain where they're searching for cryptographers and cyber security specialists. Also, you have all these military and maybe governments sector, which is actively recruiting in this area. And of course, academia, right? In both coding and cryptography, of course, academia sometimes is recruiting as well. So, as I mentioned, we have, I think, a very strong research team in the world. I mean, when you look at the result that's all the researchers in NTU obtain cryptography, I think it's really good. That's one of the results I would like to highlight. So how is the cryptography that you're using in your computer phone, etc., how is it chosen? Like, is it someone who just come with a new algorithm and then everybody use it? No, of course not. It has to be scrutinized. It has to be analyzed a lot by a lot of different people to really be sure it's okay. And only then you can put it in your product, because otherwise it's going to cost a lot of money to take it away if there is a problem. So what people usually do, what the community is doing, they are organizing competitions. So they say, okay, we need this new kind of primitive. We need this because we have some product demand for this kind of stuff. And so they launch this competition. Everybody can participate. And for example, one of them was the Caesar competition. And it's usually lasts for many years, like can be from 2 to 10 years. But this one was a 5-year competition. So 57 candidates in all over the world, from US, Europe, Asia, some from companies like Google, some from universities, MIT, etc. So really from everywhere. And actually, there were 6 winners selected at the end of the competition, and 3 are coming from our division. So 3 are coming from us in the entire world. So that was really, I think, a big achievement. There's right now another competition ongoing for another type of primitive. And it's still not announced what are the winners, but we have already 4 of the finalists, of the 10 finalists, which are also coming from the division. So really, I think the cryptography and coding part is really a very strong research in this division, and this is something you might be part of during your studies, because you might have the occasion to do some projects with us, for example, through the final year project or independent study, etc. You can work with us, professor, on this very late, cutting-edge research that we do. Let me present you some very brief research topic we're working on at the moment. One of them is lightweight cryptography. So maybe you don't know, but there's a big trend in computing now is that you're going to have smaller and smaller computing device everywhere. So you know all the big servers, etc. But you also have now a lot of tiny devices that you're going to have everywhere. For example, those RFID tags. These very, very tiny devices that contains an ID that you can query. And the problem that you need some protection, because maybe some of the data that it's sending has to be protected. Maybe it's sensitive data. The problem is that the cryptography that we know today cannot fit in those very tiny devices, because the amount of operation it has to perform is too large, it's too complicated, and these very tiny devices cannot handle it. So you have to completely rework the cryptography, how it's working, the fundamental mathematical basis that is using to be able to fit in these very small things. So that's one of the topics we're working on. Another one is post-quantum cryptography. Maybe you've heard in the news, if you look at the like science magazines or blogs, etc. But one very big future technology that might come is quantum computers. So we don't know yet if quantum computers will be able to scale and we'll be able to harness all this huge computation power potentially. But the problem for us cryptographers is that if this comes a reality, if one day quantum computers can scale and really can be used, all the cryptography, I mean, a lot of the cryptography that we're using is completely broken. This is like catastrophic. It means that all the banking is down to its knees. All your emails can now be basically opened, can be read, and I mean, a lot of things in the world will completely scramble. So you don't want this to happen. So what cryptographers are doing right now is preparing in advance. So we're trying to build new cryptographic primitive, new mathematical concepts, so that we can still provide security even if there is quantum computers that are there. Okay? So it's a kind of preparing the future. And we have professors in our division working exactly on this topic. Another one is homomorphic encryption. I think this one is really one of the biggest booming area for cryptography, and it's very, very important for all of us. Because now we're using a lot our social networks, we're using, of course, a lot internet, and all our data is going to these big actors. It's being used, all this data is being used for their benefit. The problem is that we might want to still keep our data private, right? I don't want my data to be used without my consent, and maybe this data is private. I don't want them to know what is actually inside. Now, I understand that there is a business need for them to use the data. So maybe it is possible. The question is it possible for me to protect the privacy of my data, so to encrypt my data, and still they can use my data in some way to do their job and to provide me the service. It turns out that this is actually possible. This is a very, very big result that has been introduced in 2009. It's called homomorphic encryption. Homomorphic encryption, the idea is that you can encrypt your data, protect your data, and still you can do some computation on it. So even though it's completely encrypted, I don't know what's inside, I can still do some modification of the unencrypted data inside. And this is completely game changer, because it means that now all these big service providers, they can use my data in a private way. They don't know what is inside, but they can still make some statistics about what is inside. So that's a lot. There's a lot of research going on this, and again, we have some professors in the division working on this. So maybe you can have like a final year project on this kind of topic. One last one. Yeah, this is something that's, I think it's all over the news everywhere. So cryptocurrencies, as you might know, Bitcoin is going bigger and bigger. The price of Bitcoin is going to sky-high levels. But actually, all the technology underlying Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies is based on cryptography and on mathematical concepts. So it's not just about the how much benefit you can, how much profit you can make with Bitcoin, but also it's about the technology. So the blockchain, how you can guarantee the security, what it can be used for. And those are like a very, very advanced and very, very interesting research topic in this area. And again, this is not going to go away. I mean, this is one of the technology of the future. And if you become an expert in this area, I'm guarantee you that you're going to have a very, very successful career, basically. So yeah, don't hesitate to talk to me if in case you are interested in any of this topic or more generally about cybersecurity. I'll be happy to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thomas, for the valuable sharing. If you did not learn anything, give a thumbs up. Else, don't do anything. Great. I see that everyone have learned something. Okay, so for our final sharing, we are privileged to invite our alumni, Ingrid and Linus, to share more about their experience after graduation. So first, let's invite Ingrid.
Hello. Good afternoon, all. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ingrani. You can call me Ingrid. I joined SPMS back in summer 2017. I majored in mathematical science with a minor in finance. And I've just recently graduated December last year, and I just started my first job as a technology analyst at Goldman Sachs. So first, I want to give you a personal opinion that I have. Why did I choose maths to be my university degree? So there are 3 key points that I want to highlight. The first is versatility. So I believe that practically every career path that we may have in the future uses math in some way or another. And as the profs have given a lot of talks about this, I can say that we agree on this point. And so this actually gives an edge to maths undergrad as they are versatile in choosing whatever career paths that they want to take. The next thing is about understanding. So one bit about learning maths is that I feel that it actually trains my logic and critical thinking. It teaches you to understand the core concepts and topics and not just about memorization, about some steps that you have to do in a robotic way. So these 2 things, logic and critical thinking, are very applicable in whatever career paths in the future that we may take. So this is actually very, very useful. And the next thing is basically just my interest. So I've always liked math since I was small, so I just decided to pursue this in my university life. So that's a bit about myself, and now I'm going to share my experiences at SPMS with you, and why it is actually one of the most fruitful and interesting journey that I've had. So again, there are 3 main things. The first is flexibility. I think that SPMS offers a lot of flexibility regarding your planning of courses, internship, and learning pace. As an applied math student, I had an interest on topics such as optimization, cryptography, coding theory, etc. And SPMS gave me the freedom to plan my electives, my courses in such a way that I can take these 3 courses that align in my interest. And this actually landed me 2 summer internship opportunities during my course of study as a system engineer and a software engineer, even though they are not that related to mathematics. And in these 2 internship experiences, I actually had a lot of insight on what fields that I want to pursue in the future. So this is one of the many examples whereby you can use the flexibility that SPMS gives you to plan your own courses suiting your needs and interests. So for example, let's say you want to become a data scientist in the future. You can plan your electives and courses to be related to data analysis, data mining, neural network, etc. SPMS also gave me the freedom to plan my own learning pace, whereby I was able to graduate in 3.5 years, thanks to this accelerated baccalaureate program or ABP, compared to the normal 4 years. So another key thing about SPMS is the interdisciplinarity that it has to offer. SPMS offers a lot of interdisciplinary courses and programs. So for example, during my course of study, there's a course called Algorithms and Computing. This actually touches on subjects such as data structures and algorithms, 2 very important concepts that are present in computer science. SPMS also offers a lot of interdisciplinary programs, as Prof Ng has mentioned. There are double major courses like math and economics, math and computer science, and there are also some special minors such as a minor in finance. So I took a minor in finance actually, and it gave me an interesting perspective on how maths can be applied in the finance world. And I agree with what Prof Nicholas said, that it's better if you start from math if you want to go finance. I can really see why it is very beneficial for us. So this interdisciplinarity is actually very useful when you are looking for a job in the future, for example, because some companies are trying to specifically look for those interdisciplinary majors. So for example, this is from Goldman Sachs career page, and this is a screenshot. I don't think you can read off of this. So basically, they are looking for people who are strong at computer science fundamentals, mathematics, and also finance. And I feel that this is what SPMS offers, so that I can kind of like land this job in a sense. And these courses and programs are very beneficial for me in my career now, because actually as a part of a global markets division, my job is not really that technical, even though I have to apply some computer science fundamentals, but I've also need to learn more about the functional or the business aspects of the company, and that is where my mathematical and finance knowledge come to play. And last thing is I just want to share about some challenging experiences that I had during my course of study. So I participated in a ICPC competition, so it's an international programming competition, and this is actually one of the highlights during my university experience, as I get to learn more about algorithms and also meet a lot of interesting and like-minded people along the way. So these people are not just from Singapore, but also people from around the world. And I also did some mini research project like Eureka and FYP, as Prof Ng has mentioned. These two are kinda similar in a way, because you are asked to learn about this new topic, and this new topic may or may not be in your university syllabus. So you have to learn new things in a rapid pace. You have to pick new things up in a very challenging way. I actually did my Eureka with Prof Perrin there, and it was a very fun and interesting experience. So overall, I really like these two projects, and it gave me an insight of what being a researcher is like. And yeah, it was very interesting, as my professors were there to help me along every step of the way. So that's all from me. My experience in SPMS was highly positive, and I encourage you all to join SPMS. Thank you. I will now pass the stage to Linus.
Okay, so my name is Linus. I graduated last year in May. So I'll do some sharing about my experience with mathematics and SPMS. Oh, sorry. So I'll share my experience in mathematics at SPMS. Okay, so to me, for pre-university mathematics, okay, so this is pi, and this is the imaginary number. So he's telling him to get real and be rational. But okay, it's more that it's more computational in nature. You take things rather for granted. They tell you that Pythagoras theorem is true. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. But you don't really ask why, or you don't really need to know why. And there are not many logic problems, as to say. So it's a different kind of mathematics. So when I went over to university, okay, so I was introduced to formal logic, how if A then B, something more logical, something that makes more sense to me. So I'll use the analogy of handyman. When you learn mathematics in university, you're given a tool set, you're given a toolbox. You don't really know what is the problem, you just need to know that you have to solve the problem. So you're given this set of tools. You don't really know which tool you have to use, what's the problem. So the beauty is that in SPMS or in mathematics, you learn how to identify the problem. You learn how to solve the problem in a way that might be elegant, might be the best way, might be the easiest way. But that all depends on variations. Okay, so let me introduce this idea of at least one, which I found was very interesting in university mathematics. Okay, so I'll use the story from this book I read previously. So presume there are 3 people on a train. One of them is an economist, one of them is a logician, and one of them is a mathematician. Okay, so they have just crossed the border into Scotland. Okay, I don't know why they're going to Scotland, but okay, they see a brown cow standing in a field from the window of the train. And the cow is standing parallel to the train. So imagine this cow is standing parallel to the train. And the economist says, look, the cows in Scotland are brown. And the logician says, no, there are cows in Scotland of which one at least is brown. Okay. And the mathematician says, no, there is at least one cow in Scotland of which one side appears to be brown. So it could be that only this side is brown and the other side is not brown. But that's how precise mathematicians are. And this is funny because because this is how specific mathematicians really go on to. Okay, so don't be surprised to see this in your lecture notes, okay, that certain things are left as an exercise. And also, you see new symbols such as epsilon, but don't be afraid. Yeah, when you take Foundation of Mathematics and other various introductory courses, you'll be introduced to these symbols and notation. So another thing that I want to share is more of a question I would like to ask everyone. So it's to challenge your assumptions, challenge how I ask the question even. So do you think it's possible to have a triangle with 3 right angles? Okay, so if you, before university, before learning mathematics, maybe you might think, no, there's no way, because a triangle is always 180 degrees. There's no other way. That's how we learn. But if you think about it, presume this is the globe. You have this triangle, this angles on the equator, and then this at the top. Actually, you do have a triangle. It's just that it's not on a 2D plane. So you do question your assumptions, and be it in life as well. Okay, when you receive information. Okay, so for post-university mathematics, I learned more than learning this. So actually, this is a fun fact as well. When you order pizza, actually there's one pizza might have more pizza than 2 pizzas. But it's more of this natural question that will come along when you study, after you study mathematics, after you go through university in SPMS. So what is the ratio between these 2 pizzas such that the larger pizza will always have more pizza? So when do you order 1 pizza instead of 2 pizzas to get more pizza? Okay, because the price most of the time is, the cost is higher for 2 pizzas. So it's not so much about finding the solution, but identifying what's the problem and how you can use it in the future. It might not always be pizza. It could be bubble tea or whatever, what's or not. Okay, so for career prospects, for me, it wasn't very difficult trying to find a job. So previously, when I tell my parents that I want to study mathematics, they will come to the conclusion, or the stereotypical answer will be, are you going to be a maths teacher? What can you do with a maths degree? Banking, the counter staff and all. So I share with them that actually this is off the Career Attachment Office book or the statistics. So actually quite a number of us go to information and communication, public administration and defense, financial and insurance, and so on and so forth. So actually it's not so much just education, or there's actually a wide range of sectors that actually require math as well, or they appreciate math students. Okay, so this is also the statistics for mathematics and economics. So this is rather based off 2015, 2016, and 2017 career data. So for the new double major career data, it's not in yet. So take this as it is. So last but not least, I'll share a bit about life. Okay, so how it affected my thinking about life. So I think after I go through math, I became more logical, observant, skeptical, tenacious. So be it how I see data, how I see information presented, how I view a problem, I identify, in the situation, I identify a problem. I would say that mathematics, the education in mathematics and in SPMS has shaped me rather well. So, okay, I would like to present one last problem. I like problems. Okay, so let's present one last problem to y'all. Imagine you have an unfair coin, okay? One that does not land on each side 50% of the time. So how could you use this coin to simulate the 50-50 odds of a fair coin flip? So I'll just like to leave you with this problem. I'm not going to solve the problem for you, and the answer is rather simple. But it's more of how do I, only maybe after learning mathematics, you can learn how to even the odds, how to make this unfair coin, or this so-called unfair start in life, or how you even the odds, how you make it favorable to you. So you can think about it, and you can speak to the alumni after this as well, if you like to know more. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid and Linus. There are indeed so many opportunities out there with a math degree. And you know, the possibilities are endless. I wouldn't know what's out there. Even I also don't know. Okay, anyways, it's now time for Q&A. Let's invite Professor Chan and Prof Ng from the audience to ask any questions that you have. So you can ask them on the Slido, or you can ask them on the Telegram chat. Testing. Hello. Okay, so please ask away, because this is a really once in a lifetime moment, and whatever questions you have, just ask. So if everyone scan the QR code, we can begin. Here we go, first question. Can I still take a minor if I'm already taking a double major program?
So I'll take this question. Yeah, so a minor is kind of independent from what you are doing in your major most of the time. So the short answer is yes, but you have to plan your study properly. Typically, a minor will consist of around 15 plus AUs. Most of our minors are 15, but there's a little bit of variation. So that works out to be about, I don't know, 4 to 5 courses additional on top of whatever you're doing. So yeah, so you have to plan it properly. There are some combinations that are not permitted. For instance, obviously you cannot do a minor in the major that you are doing. Obviously you cannot do a math in a math minor. And also there are some other things, for example, about the minor program. For instance, the minor in finance program is special in the sense that it is only offered to SPMS students. So this is one of the only ways you can do a minor in finance, is to join us and then go through the minor in finance route. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof Ng. Let's move on to the next question, shall we? Okay, this one comes. If I choose the pure math track, will I lose out to those taking other tracks in terms of career prospects and employment rates?
I'll take this one. So by taking a track, basically it means that you need to take a cluster of courses from that specialization. It doesn't preclude you from taking courses outside of that track. So if you are really worried, so it also depends on what career you have in mind. For example, if you want to be, you already have in mind you want to be a statistician, then you don't go choose a pure math track and then take fewer statistics courses than those in the statistics track. But otherwise, if you don't really have a specific career in mind and you're in pure math, feel free to take courses that are outside of your track so that you also have just as much knowledge as those in the other tracks.
Yeah. So maybe I add on to this question. Actually, the track that you choose, because it won't really be reflected in your degree scroll. So, and also most employers will not actually query this. So the purpose of choosing a track, I think I would say, is just more aligned to your interests. And like we said, is the program offers you flexibility in designing your courses. So yeah, so you should build your track and your and plan your electives according to that. But in terms of long-term career prospects and employment rate, right? That was a question. That the effect is a little bit less because during the interview, you can just it depends on how you market yourself during the interview also, right? That, you know, just having a program in mathematics, you can say that, oh, these are the benefits I can contribute to your company and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's not really that important. I would say just choose it according to your interest.
Thank you. Next question. Is there a program for studying quantum computing? I see someone is interested in this topic.
We don't have a degree program in specifically for quantum computing. A degree program means like a double major or single major. So there's no major in quantum computing. It's one of the emerging research areas. So I think it's not enough to give you a major in that. We do have courses that are related to quantum computing that are offered in the school.
Yeah, you can also, I think, because quantum computing is such a large field, in fact, our sister divisions in physics also has got some quantum physics computational, and also in chemistry. I'm not sure if they're offering those courses per se, but if you're really interested, I think that the way to go is to join one of these research programs, modules, and find a suitable professor and learn from him.
Thank you. Let's move on. Next question. Okay, before entering university, are there materials that we are recommended to read up on? It's a good question.
Well, it's a good question. This is quite a commonly asked question. I would guess your question is directed towards mathematics. Although I guess the answer is kind of more general, also applies more generally. Well, it really depends on your background. If you have taken H2 mathematics, then I think the gap is a little bit closer. And our first semester, and in fact, generally the first year courses will be designed so that it will be at the level that is suitable for you with the H2 mathematics. So that's one of the requirements for admissions, or something equivalent. Now, if you really want to read up, of course, you can feel free to look at our website for a list of the first semester courses, and there will be a list of courses, so you can just get or just email me or one of us. We can give you a list of recommended textbook to use there, so you can prepare. I understand some of you are maybe a bit anxious. Yeah. So the short answer is not really, but if you really want to, we can give some recommendations.
Thank you. Wow, one question from Tom. Do we have lab sessions for math?
Lab sessions for math, I guess you mean computing lab sessions. The answer is yes. I think previously I've mentioned in the talk that there's a list of actually 4 compulsory courses that you have to take in terms of programming and computing courses, and there's a couple more electives. So in these courses, of course, you have to do actually practical programming. So you actually have to write codes and stuff. So yes, we have SPMS itself has got 3 computing labs, Lab 1, Lab 2, and Lab 3. with a capacity of like roughly 50 students. Yeah, so we have some courses that are conducted solely in the lab only, and there are some other courses where we have some theory and then some a few other sessions also in the lab. So yes, I'm not sure whether that question is because you want to have lab sessions or you want to avoid lab sessions, but they cannot be avoided completely. Yeah, there will be some compulsory lab sessions.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Someone asked whether there's a difference between the statistics track and the business analytics track.
Okay, I can take this also. So like what Prof Chan said earlier, you know, the fact that you have a track that you have to declare does not exclude you from taking courses in the other tracks. So that's the first thing to state out front. If you are on the statistics track, the only meaning of that is that there is a number of courses that you have to fulfill from a list of courses that are associated with the statistic track. So that particular list for the stats track and the corresponding list for the business analytics tracks is of course different. But apart from these courses, you have the freedom to choose other courses outside of this list, you know, so you can mix and match. So the differences between these two lists are, for the stats track, you will be doing more courses, obviously coming from the stats basket. So that includes things like, you know, the time series, what Professor Nicholas was saying about helping you make money, right, from Pepsi and Coke. So the time series analysis, you know, financial mathematics, and linear regression. Yeah, so these are some of the examples of stats courses. For the business analytics track, because it is also a partnership with the Nanyang Business School, so there is also a list of a couple of business courses that you have to take from the business school. But the remaining of the business analytics track will come from a variety of courses from different tracks, specifically from the applied and stats track. So it's a mixture of different courses from the business analytics track.
Thank you. That's a very good answer. It's really different. Next question. NTU internships during the semester, someone's worried about internships. Is that considered an additional commitment or on top of our usual commitment of our usual university semester workload? Or do we solely focus on internships?
So for internship during the semester, basically you report to the companies. So you should be working full time at the companies. You should not be so official. You are not allowed to be taking courses unless you apply for it. So there are once a while some interns that actually they wanted to take some courses, but that's not the norm. So by right, you should only be reporting to the company and working for the company.
Yeah, so maybe I also add on, the question is about whether it's additional commitment. So when you go on this internship program, right? So now internship, okay, so first of all, internships are compulsory now. So you can choose between the short internship 10-week in the semester break or the long internship during the semester. Now, the short internship is worth 5 AUs, 5 academic units, and the long internship is 10 AUs. So whichever or two you choose, you will be getting credit for it in terms of academic units. So like if you do the short internship, you have to make up the remaining 5 AUs in the form of courses. So it's not really on top. It actually goes towards your degree, the requirements for your degree.
Thank you, professors. Let's have the last question. How is the weekly schedule like now with the online learning and classroom learning procedures in place?
Okay, I can take this. So the weekly schedule does not change in the sense that the timetable is unchanged from past years. So a typical course, 4 AU course, will typically have 3 lecture hours and 1 tutorial hour. So that doesn't change. But of course, the format is now changed due to the COVID measures. Large courses, which will mostly be the category that your first semester, first year courses will fall into. Your first year courses will mostly be large courses. Will have their lectures conducted online. So that will be 3 lecture hours, but online. But the tutorials will all, majority will be conducted in person. So it's going to be like a mixture, a hybrid, what we call hybrid. Lectures will be online, but the tutorials will be face-to-face. Of course, with within the safe distancing measures in the classroom. For small classes, smaller than 50, it can and will often be conducted in person in LT. But I think that's less of an issue, less of a question, concern in your first year. Now, of course, additionally, the lab courses also conducted in lab, also will be in person in the lab. Test and assessment will typically also be conducted in person, because tests online, e-tests and e-exams simply are not, they don't really work very well. So most of our tests and exams will be back in person. Yeah, so that's roughly what is going to happen in terms of coming to uni.
Thank you, Prof Ng. So if anybody here in the live audience, any questions that you want to ask the professors now, you can raise up your hand. You can do a quick one. Okay, I guess we can answer one more question. Okay, last one. Are there any benefits if I studied H3 math before in JC?
I think the benefits are actually minimal. So of course, it trains you well before you come. But in terms of the knowledge that you have gained from H3, will you have an advantage compared to those who don't have it? I think I would say the advantage is actually very minimal, because we train all the students from scratch again, and so the extra knowledge may not be helping you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, and that is all the time we have. For other questions that you want to ask, or if your question wasn't answered, please ask them on the Telegram channel at NTU Maths with an S at the back. And thank you, professors, for joining us with the Q&A. So we hope you gain some insights into this program, and we can't wait for you to join the math family. As we come to the end of the session, do help us by scanning the QR code to complete the feedback form for today's program. And also a gentle reminder that the last shuttle bus today leaves at 3:50 p.m. With that, I'm Ian, and my MC here is Dion, and today we thank you all for coming to join us. Okay, so right now we'll be dismissing by groups according to your sticker that was given to you outside. So we'll dismiss first with the group M1. If you have received the M1, please raise your hand and the prof will guide you out. Which professor is